Yup.
It would be. You know where the record button is? She doesn't know where the record button is. Alrighty. Press that. Just press. Yeah. You know where the record button is? She doesn't know where the record button is. Alrighty. Press that. You know where the record button is? She doesn't know where the record button is.
One, two, check, 1, 2, check. 1, 2, check.
Check 1, 2.
all set. Hey everyone, good evening, and welcome to your final part of your workshop series for college planning. An exciting fall ahead for all of our seniors as they're getting ready to begin their applications. Not even begin, because some of you are in full throes of applying and getting everything organized for that. So we have a lot of information for you tonight, and for our families that could be watching from home, or the fact that we know it's being recorded. So that way their families could watch this or go back and revisit this at a later time as well, because it has a lot of information for you. And as well as the document, or there's an email that went out to all of our seniors and families, I believe, with this on there too. So I want to introduce our new school counselor, Mr. Andrew Sidursky, who is here tonight. And so welcome, Andrew. And of course, Mr. Goldman, who will be moderating tonight. So everyone have a wonderful evening, and to our seniors, exciting times ahead. We'll see you soon.
Well, we're glad to see such a good crowd tonight, and hopefully there's even more folks watching from home tonight. So we're here to talk about the nuts and bolts of applying to college. So this is part 3 of the 3-part series. We've started with the juniors last January, and then continued into April. Then we had the college application boot camp in August. How many of you went to boot camp this year? Okay, very good. So this might sound a little redundant from because we did cover a lot of this during the boot camp. Can you guys hear me? Okay. For those of you who maybe weren't able to attend the part 1 and part 2 workshops, these are sequential workshops, so we pick up where we left off from the last one. So if you're a little bit lost, it's understandable. We do have parts 1 and parts 2 recorded and posted under the junior link on the school counseling department webpage. So you just need to go there, go to the Middleborough High School webpage, click on About Us, and then go to counseling department, junior information, and you'll see parts 1 and 2 there with the videos that went along with the presentations. I will warn you, the first one is a long one, but the next 2 get a little bit shorter. So let's move along here, and so like the other 2 workbooks, on the inside cover, you have a rough timeline to try to keep you on track with important dates and deadlines. This is the school counseling staff. For those of you who had worked with Ash Barron, Mr. Swiderski has taken her spot, and he's ready to go. He has experience from previous schools, and he's ready to go. So just a reminder, if your last name falls between A and F, Miss Byrne, who wasn't able to make it tonight, is your counselor. Mr. Swiderski has G through MI. I have MO through Z. And then the rest of our staff is Mrs. Miller, who is our school to career counselor. She handles all the senior internships and the Massasoit dual enrollment classes. And Mrs. Pont, who is our new administrative assistant, will be the first person to greet you when you come into our office. The next 2 pages are just a review of what was covered in workshops 1 and 2. And then we get into the nuts and bolts of applying to college. So there's 3 components to this process. There's the teacher recommendations, the application, and the essay, which go along together, and then the standardized test scores. So let's start with teacher recommendations. Make this a little bit bigger so you can see it. So hopefully all of you have already asked a teacher if they'd be willing to write a letter of recommendation. And if you haven't, then I would not hesitate to make sure you take care of that. It's not something they have to do. They're doing it on their own time, and you want to be respectful of their time and make sure that they have enough time to write a well thought out letter of recommendation and not a rush job because it was dropped on them at the very last minute. It's usually a teacher that you've had most recently, so last year, or somebody maybe you've had more than once that has seen some growth in you as a student. You got to remember that the letter of recommendation the primary letter should be an academic letter, not from a coach or from an administrator in the building. The primary letter of rec should be from a teacher who has seen you perform academically. That's what the colleges are interested in. Most colleges are only requiring one letter of recommendation. If you feel you would like to have a character recommendation from a coach or an administrator or somebody else that was significant, even possibly an employer or something like that, and the college says that they would take more than one, then that certainly can, one of those can act as your secondary letter of recommendation. Just be very cautious with the letters of recommendation. If it says we want one, don't send two unless you call and find out that they will take two. Part of the problem is if they say they only want one and those letters are submitted through SCORE, which replaced Naviance this year. And so if you ask two teachers and the college says they only want one, the first teacher that submits it is the one that gets locked in. The other teacher is blocked. So if your secondary teacher beats your primary teacher, then you may have an issue with that, and there's no reversing it. So just be very careful. Call the colleges and say, can I send two? If they say sure, that's fine. If they say no, please go with your with the one that you think will help you the most. So you ask the teacher, then you have to go into SCORE, and you need to select the teacher and send them an official request through SCORE, and we'll show you how to do that in a minute. The teacher will get the email reminder. You need to go into SCORE and complete the letter of recommendation information sheet, which will help remind the teacher of your experience in their classroom. And after you complete that, you're going to save it and send it and email it to them. You can go to SCORE and make your official request. The teacher will get the email. The teacher will complete their letter of recommendation up, and they will submit it directly to the college through SCORE. So the teacher recommendations do not come to our office. So if there's ever a question about whether or not it's been sent, when it's going to be sent, those questions should be directed directly to the teacher, not to the counselor, because we wouldn't know where they're at with it. Let's go over to standardized test scores. This has changed a lot in the last few years because of COVID. A lot of schools have gone test optional. So when you're looking at the schools you're applying to, make sure you know what they want. Do they want scores? Do they not want scores? Most of the colleges around here, local colleges, are not asking for SAT or ACT scores. If you are applying to a school that does require it, it's your responsibility to make sure that you're sending those scores through either College Board or ACT, depending on which one you're sending, directly to the college. The scores have to be official, which means they don't touch anybody's hands. They go directly from College Board or from ACT to the college. So you submit, you telling them what your scores are in your application, and I wouldn't recommend listing your scores on the application. That's usually optional. Or asking your counselor to send your scores, those aren't considered official. So what makes it official is you go into your College Board account, and then you find the school schools that you want to send those SAT scores to, and you click on it, and they're going to charge you $12, I believe, or $12.50 a score report to each college you want to have it sent, and that college will send it directly to the college. Legally, we can't even get involved in that because those are personal records, and they're not going to allow a third party they don't want a third party touching them. So that is how the test scores go. Applications. So for those of you who went to boot camp, you've already hopefully completed your applications, or about 95% completed with them at this point. The two pieces are the application and the essay. After you complete both, you should have both proofread. You should have a family member proofread your application. And the reason for that is we take a look at those applications also if you want us to, but we're not going to notice if you put the wrong address down, you have a typo on that, or a date of birth or something like that. A parent or a guardian is probably the best person to take a look at that. For the essay, you may want to ask an English teacher. Certainly, we would be happy to read your essay if you want us to but there's a reason why we're not teaching English and we're in the counseling office. So your best bet is to go with the experts on that. And then you go through that whole process of making corrections, proofreading again, making corrections so you have a nice clean application and a nice clean essay. Then you're going to upload that essay into the application. You're going to pay the online application fee with a credit card. You're going to submit the application, the essay and the fee to the college. So you submit that directly to the college. Then you're going to go over to SCORE to complete your request for transcript. And then you need to complete the activity sheet and a school counselor letter of rec info sheet. And those need to be emailed. Those two, the activity sheet and the letter of rec info sheet, need to be emailed to your guidance counselor. And then in the next box, you see what the, I'm sorry. And so excuse me, I'm going to start over again on that. We require 15 school days to process all of your forms. It's not just us sending a transcript. There's a letter of recommendation that needs to be written, and we want to put some thought into it. We don't want to rush it and just do sloppy work just to get it out. So if you have those forms done now, but your deadline's not till January 1st, I can tell you right now, I have 2 letters to write right now. I'm fresh off a summer vacation. My brain isn't all jumbled up with a million things, feeling like I'm writing the same thing over and over again. Your best bet's to get that stuff in sooner than later. Because what'll happen is, people being people, they wait until the deadline, and then we got 20, 30 people that dump everything on us at the deadline, and we will get it out within those 15 school days. But there's a bit of a rush at that point, and we don't want to. We want to do quality work for you. You guys have worked hard, and we want to make sure we're complimenting you on our end with those things. So 15 school days. Well, there's a grid on that to show you when you need to submit, and we'll talk about that in a little more detail in a few minutes. And then in the next box, you're going to see the things that we send out. So there's a whole bunch of things that we need to send to them, and it's an ongoing process. They do ask for first quarter grades. So even if you're applying early action or early decision with a November 1st deadline, we still need to follow up when the report cards come out a couple of weeks later. They're going to want mid-year grades. So even if you got an acceptance in December, it's a conditional acceptance. You need to make sure that you're keeping up your end of the bargain and you're doing at least the same quality work that you've been doing for the past 3 years. And then you can see the school profile, the school council report, and the school council recommendation form, all in addition to the letter of recommendation too. So there's a lot of things that go into this on the other side that you don't see. If you think you're going to have a problem with the deadline, you're not sure, talk to us ahead of time. Don't wait until the day of. Don't wait until after. Talk to us ahead of time. If we have a heads up, a lot of times we can work things out and try to make sure everything's getting there in a timely way. Testing information. So as I said, a lot of schools are test optional right now. The 2 different tests are the ACTs and the SATs. I think most of our seniors took an SAT in last May. Again, just double check your applications to see if the schools are asking for SATs or ACTs. If they're not, and you're looking at the GPAs and the things that they're asking for, and you feel like you've got a solid GPA as far as that school is concerned, then don't bother with the SAT. If you happen to do well on standardized tests, and you want to send your scores, you think that they're better than your GPA, then certainly they may complement and help increase your chances of getting into that school. That's something you can talk to your school counselor about. We'd be more than happy to look at that and make a recommendation on that for you. So we are a test center for the SAT on November 5th. The deadline to register for that test is October 7th. You do that directly with College Board at that website that you see right there. It's a $55 registration fee, and College Board being College Board, if you're late, they're going to charge you another $30 on top of it all. But they say they're nonprofit. So the forms that need to be completed that we started to talk about. The blue form is the teacher letter of rec info sheet. And then the green one is the counselor letter of recommendation info sheet. And the orange one is the activity sheet. Now, the activity sheet only goes to your counselor. It does not go to your teacher. Your teacher should not be writing about all your extracurricular activities unless they have firsthand experience. So, for example, if you play softball and your math teacher is writing your recommendation and they're the softball coach, that's an appropriate person possibly to write a recommendation if they've had you as a teacher also. But there's no reason why that teacher, if they've never, should be talking about your experience in the art club or your part-time job, or all these other things. They need to be focusing on their experience with you in the classroom. Your guidance counselor is the one that will be writing the all-round recommendation, including your academics, your extracurriculars, your out-of-school stuff, to show you as a well-rounded person. The activity sheet also doubles as the second page for the scholarship application, which will be coming out in February. So make sure you save that document so you don't have to redo all that information. Very important, you're going to see next to all three of these forms, these are Word documents. Please do not save them in Google. If you put them in Google, it's going to jack the formatting and it'd be very, very messy. So please save it as Word. If you can't save it as Word, save it as a PDF, but just don't put it into Google. So when you're sharing your extracurricular experiences, students tend to either have a short memory or don't think things are significant or important. When you're filling it out, if you only ran on the cross-country team your freshman year or you never did it again, put it on there. It accounts for something you did when you were a freshman. You want to include anything from grades 9 through 12. You don't want to say that you did the Walk for Hunger once in 8th grade and you never did it again, or you're on the yearbook in 7th grade and you haven't done it since. It's really 9 through 12. Excuse me. And if you have done something long-term, if anybody here has been dancing since they were 4 or 5 years old, or has been involved in horseback riding or piano lessons, that shows a long-term commitment. So certainly you can include things like that. So what we did here to try to help you with this process is we listed all of our school-related activities and some possible out-of-school activities. You know, every time I ask students, do you have a part-time job? And they say, no. Have you ever babysat? Well, yeah, I babysat. It's a job with a lot of responsibility. So certainly you want to put something like that down. You want to list your community service. Colleges love to see that students are volunteering and doing things. Your part-time work. So if you had a couple of part-time jobs over the course of the last few years, list them all, even if you're not doing them anymore. Okay. So the application piece. There's over 1,000 colleges that subscribe to the Common App. It's one application, one essay, and it saves you a lot of time. You don't get bonus points if you choose the school's own application over the Common App. If they subscribe to the Common App, they're putting their stamp of approval on it, and it'll save you a whole lot of time. There are still some schools that do not subscribe to the Common App, so you'd have to go to their website, and you'd have to click on admissions, and then you'd have to find first-year student application, and you can start filling it out on their website. So we did the Common App with all the students that went to the boot camp this summer. For those of you who did not, we're starting to send out information on some workshops that we're going to be doing either during school or after school. So I know Mrs. Byrne sent out some emails. Anybody here get an email from Mrs. Byrne about doing a workshop during lunch? Okay. She did not get she did not get a good response, I'll tell you that. Okay. That is your opportunity to sit down with a counselor and go one-on-one, line by line through the application and make sure that you're understanding the question and answering them correctly. You're not going to get that opportunity if you skip that. You're going to be filling those out on your own, and we're going to do a spot check to make sure that, try to check those applications. But take advantage of the extra help. A lot of schools, you're on your own. The counselors only just send out their piece, and they don't review anything. They don't sit down and go over those applications. So take advantage of the opportunity to do it right. In most cases, most schools don't do interviews anymore. So in most cases, that application, right or wrong, is the only impression the college is going to get of you, and you want to make sure that you give them the best possible picture of yourself. Okay. So So how many colleges should you apply to? We recommend 4 to 6. If you've done your research over the last several months, you should be able to narrow it down. Applying to college can be expensive. The application fees range anywhere from $10 to $100. I would say on average, you're probably looking at about $65, $70 per application. So it can become very expensive just for them to read your application. There's no guarantees there. So if you've done your research, you should be able to narrow it down. There's 3 different categories that we ask you to put these in, and you will get this question from probably from all of us. How did you develop this list? Have you done your research? You know, GPA wise, major wise, geographic location, have you checked all the boxes to make sure you're applying to schools that are going to provide you with exactly what you're looking for? So we have 3 categories of schools: realistic, stretch, and safety or backup school. The realistic school is when you look at the numbers and you look at your numbers, you pretty much have what they're asking for, or you're pretty much there. And so there's a better than 50% chance of getting in. The reach or the stretch school is a school that maybe you have most of what they're asking for, not quite everything. Or maybe you don't have anything they're asking for, but you possibly have a family member that had attended there, and you're going to do some name dropping to hope that will help your candidacy. And then there's the safety or the backup. And the safety of the backup is very important, not just for academic purposes. But when you look at the numbers, it should be a school that you know absolutely no questions asked. They would be more than happy to have you as a student at their campus. You'd actually make them look good. But other reasons you may want to have a safety or backup school. I had a student many years ago who was planning on going to school in the West, Colorado, California, Arizona, and smart girl, did really well in school, applied early, got into these schools, and her father passed away unexpectedly. And she was an only child, and it was devastating to her and her mom. So she ended up going to her backup school, which was UConn. It's a great backup school. She was a very smart person, but she ended up going there because it was only about an hour and 15 minutes from her house. So she was closer to mom. So I had another student who ended up she was going to go to Boston University, which is well over $80,000 a year now. And her father ended up losing his job, and she just couldn't afford it at that point. So she luckily had UMass Lowell as her backup school, and she wanted to go into engineering. That's a great engineering school. So you always want to make sure you're covering your bases in this process, and hopefully there's never something horrible like that happens in your family. Okay. So this is just some of the criteria that the colleges are looking for. Let's talk about the different types of applications. It's 5 different types. There's early action and early decision. So let's talk a little bit about the differences between the early action and early decision. Early action is a non-binding process. That means you can apply to as many colleges as you want early action, and you just find out earlier. The deadlines, the colleges, not every college has early action, not every college has early decision. So again, Boston University only has early decision. So if you don't want to apply early, it's either early decision or regular decision. So the early applications are usually November 1st, November 15th, all the way through December 15th. They usually pick the 1st and the 15th of the month. They'll pick one of those dates. Each college will pick one of those dates. It's, as I said, it's non-binding. You can apply to as many as you want. You still don't have to give them your decision until May 1st next year. Early decision is a legal binding contract that you are signing. In a lot of cases, your parents are signing. We're signing as guidance counselors on our end, saying that you're only applying to one college early decision. If you get in, you withdraw all your regular decision applications, and that's where you're going. The colleges know where you applied because they share a general list. I had a student many years ago who applied to Babson early and to Bentley early. She was being recruited for tennis for both, and they really wanted her. They both accepted her. They cross-referenced their lists, found out she'd applied to both, and she lost both. So they mean it when they say it. A phone call from mom and dad is not going to change their mind. They're going to treat you as an adult. At this point, you signed a contract. Excuse me. So you got to be very careful. There's not a lot of counselors that really enjoy or recommend early decision. You're not going to find out about financial aid until months after they tell you that you've gotten in. And sometimes that's a way of locking you in there and trying to force you to pay the full price for the school. Priority is similar to early action. It might have something specific to the college that is offering a priority deadline. Anybody here interested in nursing? Okay. Regardless if they say it's early or regular, those applications should all be going out in November. Okay. The nursing programs are very, very difficult to get into just because there's not enough seats for all the people that want to be nurses. There's a high, high demand for nursing. Can be a great career. I know a lot of nurses, but you gotta beat the other people out there to the punch. UMass Amherst has a nursing program. The UMass has what now? Probably over 30,000 students, I think. They take 80 students a year in their nursing program, and you can't transfer in as a sophomore. You got to make sure you're taking care of your business early. If so, you send it, just get it into your counselor, get the stuff into your counselor, let them know it's nursing so we can get our stuff out also. And then there's the regular decision deadlines, which begin January 1st, run the 1st and the 15th of the month all the way to April. Again, each college will pick the day in the month that they want for their regular decision deadline. And then rolling admissions is non-binding. You can apply anytime. You can apply right up to the first day of school if you'd like to. It's great because there's always a school to apply to. If things don't work out in your search and you still want to go start someplace, there's a school you can apply to. The downside about rolling admissions is what happens with rolling admissions is as they get the applications in, they don't wait for, there's no deadline, so they don't wait and process all those applications as one group. They get the application, they read it, they make a decision. They get the next one, they read it, they make a decision. So they could fill up in January. If it's a very popular school, they could fill up very early. And January is very early in the regular decision process. So don't sit on applications too long. If it's a school that you really are interested in, and you really would like to go there. Okay, so let's go back to the deadline piece again. So as I said, we need 15 school days notice prior to the college's application deadline to process the requests. And here is the grid that will explain. So for example, there is one or two colleges out there that have an October 15th deadline. That means all the forms that we required, the request for transcript, the teacher stuff, all needed to be submitted by September 21st in order to assure that we could get everything out in a timely way. Where this gets really complicated, if you look on the right-hand column where it says, the left-hand column where it says January 1st deadline, the deadline to make sure you're taking care of everything with your counselor and teacher is actually November 30th. There's a vacation period in there. So it's school days. It's not days. It's not 3 weeks. So just be very cautious of that. Again, if you think you might have a problem with the deadline, it's always better to check in with your counselor ahead of time to see what you can work out. Colleges are very unforgiving. If you miss a deadline, they are very, very unforgiving. There's just so many candidates to go to school right now that they can pick and choose who they want. And then you might be a great student. And I've seen it before. They'll say, you know what, we'd love to have you come back next year and we'll be happy to accept you. So just be very careful with that. If any of you are on IEPs or 504s and are looking for a school that could provide additional support for you, check in with your counselor and we can make some recommendations for you. The next page has all the school information you're going to need to plug into your application. Our school code, our address, phone, fax number, correct spelling of Mr. Brannigan's name, and the correct spelling of their counselors' names. TBA is this guy right over here. The workbook that I emailed home to you earlier this evening has all of his information in there. So this was printed before he started. All right. Your class size, we're hoping to finalize your class size this week. We thought we were going to have it done by today, but we didn't. We had some adjusting to do because we had a few students that have left us. We had some students in June that had incompletes they had to make up. So your GPAs, whatever GPAs you have in score right now, should be accurate unless you had work to make up at the end of school last year. It's the class size and possibly your class rank that might change slightly. So we're going to try to get that uploaded into SCORE as soon as possible. We will send a notification out to you guys letting you know when those numbers are official. Your years attending Middleborough, for most of you, that would have been September 2019 through June 2023. With an anticipated graduation date of June 3rd, 2023. If you transferred here, then you need to adjust that. And on the application, it's going to ask you if you've attended any other high schools, and you have to put the dates for your attendance at those high schools. Okay, so this is the process for the teacher rec requests. You go to My Colleges and SCORE after you log in, and you click on the application documents right here, and there'll be and then it'll bring you to this page where it says request recommendation, and a drop box will come up where you put in the teacher's name, and you'll start typing it, and the teacher's name will show up. Send them a nice message. Thank you for agreeing to write my letter of recommendation. I'll be emailing you my letter of rec info sheet shortly. You might want to say my earliest deadline is, as a reminder to them, and then make sure you click send, and your official request for your teacher rec is complete. They'll get an email, and they'll know that they have to take care of their business by a certain time. The transcript request, much simpler than it has been in the past when we had Naviance. Again, you click on My Colleges. You should be listing the colleges you're considering in the following column. We showed you how to do this in the workshops we did last June. After you decide, yes, I'm definitely applying to that school, all you need to do is click on the college, hold it, and drag it over to the applying college. Once you do that, your counselor will be notified that you were applying to that school, and we know that we have some work that we have to do. Once you actually submit your application, you're going to go back here, you're going to click on the applying, and drag it over to applied. So it's as simple as that. There's no forms to fill out, but that is the official request. Please do not email us. I need a transcript. That is not official. We need to do this electronically through here. There's a signature, you covering yourself. If anybody ever screws up, makes a mistake, you can say, hey, it's right there, I did it. And it's an official notification. It goes into a database that we check frequently during the course of the week. An email can get lost in the shuffle. We get a lot of emails in the course of a day. Okay, after you move your school into the applying column, this box will pop up, and you're going to click on which application you're using. In most cases, it'll be the Common App. If it's not, and you use the college's own, then you're going to click college website, and then you need to select the deadline that you're applying under: early action, regular decision. If they have more, they'll show up there. If they have a rolling or a early decision, it'll all show up there. You click the one that you're applying for, then click save, and you're done. This link is a video that will demonstrate how to submit your scores. At least it was supposed to be a video. Financial aid. We used to have a financial aid workshop every October. We had people from MIFA come in and do a professional presentation. Financial aid is a very complex process. And that's constantly changing, and we would not do justice if we tried to explain it to you. So we always call on the professionals. Since COVID, no one wants to come into the schools anymore. So there's a lot of online or virtual presentations. If you're checking Brannigan's Bulletin, we've been posting them in there every Sunday. I know with my students and parents, I've been sending out stuff as I get it. I've been sending emails out to you. Anybody go to the Bridgewater Raynham College Fair last week? What's that? You went last year, okay. But they had a financial aid workshop there too, also. So there's always a lot of stuff that's coming in. So we will share that information with you as we get it. The FAFSA. The FAFSA is the big application for federal student aid. So the new application will be available October 1st. If you go to that website now, you're going to be filling out last year's application. So you have to wait until October 1st. The student needs to set up an account with and get a PIN number. The parent or guardian needs to also get a PIN number too. So it does take some time. It's a very long form. It's the second most requested government form in the United States behind the tax forms. But it's all online now. It used to be a paper application. Just be careful if at any point during that you're completing that application, they ask you to pay a fee, you're on the wrong website. So the website is FAFSA, www.fafsa.ed.gov. If you go to FAFSA.com, they're going to charge you to process something that you shouldn't be paying for. Just remember the first F in FAFSA stands for free application for federal student aid. There's another application for aid. There's many private schools that subscribe to the CSS profile. Private schools have access to monies through endowments that public schools don't have. So what happens is after you fill out the federal form and the private college sees how much you're getting, they look to see if there's a further need, and they may supplement a little bit more if you've completed the CSS profile. Now, the CSS profile is a College Board form, so being a College Board form, they're going to charge you per school you fill it out for. So you go to that website, and first of all, check with the schools that you're applying to. Like I said, it's private schools, but not every private school. Most of them, though. So just make sure that the schools are asking for that. And then it's a much easier form to fill out than the FAFSA, and see what comes of it after that. And then the colleges may have their own forms. Sometimes you have to fill those out when you're filling out the application. Sometimes they send them to you after you've been accepted. Each college is a little bit different, but they will let you know what the process is for that. Any athletes in here that are hoping to play Division I or Division II sports? Okay, if you are, you need to declare yourself eligible through the NCAA Eligibility Center. This is to prevent illegal recruiting by colleges. So what needs to happen is every year we need to submit to the NCAA a list of the courses we're offering, and they tell us what our NCAA approved courses as far as meeting graduation requirements and their standards. If you submitted, a lot of people submit that earlier as sophomores and juniors. It's okay if you haven't done that yet. And again, it's only for Division I and Division II. You do not need to do it for D3. But if you haven't done it yet and you're seriously considering D1 or D2, you need to complete that and send it off to the NCAA. We have an NCAA Eligibility Center coordinator here. It's Mr. Swiderski. I don't know if he knows that, though. Have we told you that yet? Yes. Yes. We will teach him how to do this. But it's a necessary evil if you want to play for them. And again, it's just to prevent illegal recruiting. Most of our courses are approved. Most of our specific graduation requirements are approved. But if you transferred here, or if there was something going on that we made some accommodations for you and you had to take a different course instead of what we traditionally offer, it may be something that they're going to ask further questions about. Okay. Mark your calendars. Financial aid workshop. We'll inform you as those come along. Scholarship information night. Do not worry about scholarships right now. I do send out, I'm the scholarship coordinator, and I do send out scholarships information as they come into us. So you've probably gotten some annoying emails from me, a lot of annoying emails from me, right? With different scholarships that are available. Those are not ones that are sponsored through Middleborough High School. Those are just things that come into our office. If you're in, we try to screen them to make sure that they're all legit. If there's something questionable, we won't send it out. But if there's something of interest to you, by all means, go ahead and apply. If you need a transcript, just request that from your school counselor and we'll get that out. But as far as the official scholarship booklet that we release every year, that comes out the week before week before February vacation. So around usually on that Wednesday before February vacation, I'll hold a scholarship information night, which is a very quick night. There's not much to present. It's usually about a 30-minute presentation, just how to maneuver the book and to answer it. We've tried to make it as simple as possible. The application is now digital. You don't have to type any scholarships in. It's a Dropbox with a list of all the scholarships in there. You fill it out once and you just you print it, then drop it to the next scholarship you want, and print it, and you just go right through like that. Most of the stuff is a direct submit now, right to the sponsors, so you don't have to run around all over the place. You can just email it or mail it out to them, depending on what they want. We tried to make it as simple and as user-friendly as possible. There is a lot of local money that is out there from our townspeople and businesses around here. And I can tell you, I've been doing it now for 7 years, and I can tell you there's always a lot of money left on the table too, because people just don't take the time. There's two that come to mind, the Trukey Scholarship and the Honeydew Donuts Scholarship. Anybody here ever work at Honeydew Donuts? If you ever work there, that automatically puts you to the top of the list. Okay. They're not big scholarships. They're about $500, $1,000, somewhere in that range, but that's book money. If you, so the, what was I going to say with that? So there's no criteria for those scholarships. That's what I'm trying to say. There's no criteria for those scholarships. That means they should be getting, if we have 100 students that are applying to college this year, they should be getting 100 applications for it. I can tell you, because I'm the person that reviews the that receives the applications for that, and that we get maybe 25 a year. Okay. And I can tell you, because we're the ones that make the decision on those two scholarships, that what we try to do is spread the money out, because we make that decision after all the local people have made their decisions. And then we see who hasn't gotten something yet, and see, and if they meet the criteria, the basic criteria, and it's not nothing specific, then we try to spread that out a little bit. But there's always a lot of money that's left out there. There's people that get scholarships and never claim them. So take the time. We purposely moved up the time frame of the scholarships. They used to come out in April, and we purposely moved it up to February, so you would have February vacation to spend a little time looking at it. It's not. It looks very detailed and complicated. It's pretty simple. You can knock off. There's 3 sections to the book. You can knock off all 3. If you want to do it for a whole day, you can knock off the whole thing. If you want to take an hour and do section 1, and then another hour and do section 2, and another hour and do section 3, you can do that. But don't squander the opportunity to get money. There's not a lot of times in life that people are going to be throwing free money at you. Okay. National College Signing Day. So the official day, universal date to tell the colleges that you want to be there and to put your deposit down is May 1st, unless you've applied early decision. So that gives you the opportunity to do one last visit if you're not sure. If you applied to schools far away, you never got to see the schools, maybe April vacation is a good time to go out and do one final check. But May 1st is the date. And then senior week is coming up May 30th through June 2nd. And then, of course, graduation on June 3rd. And then you are on to bigger and better things. And that is it. In the back of each book, we have the glossary of terms in case you hear an acronym or a word that you're not sure what it is. That's where you would find it. So I will now entertain questions right there. Yeah, go ahead. We'll get back to you. We'll get back to you. Somebody gave him the recommendations. Okay, the teachers need to. It's actually the teachers. Okay. Do you know who the teachers are? Mrs. Davis, yeah. Okay. Okay, so in a case like that, I don't know if we have the ability to upload it for him into SCORE. We can check on that. And who's your child? Oh, okay. Okay, so we can look at SCORE. SCORE is new to us this year too, and so we're still kind of finding little things that we haven't been trained in. So we will we have a contact there that has been great at getting back to us with questions. So we'll find out if something we can upload for him. We will certainly do that. If not, then you could ask Mrs. Davis if she wants to just send it directly, or if she gave it to you, you can email it directly to the admissions office. Okay. Okay. Other questions in the back over there? Mm-hmm. No. So, okay. So let's start with the teacher recommend. So we just found this out today. Did you fill out the Common App? Okay. So you need to go back to Common App and you need to click on the colleges that you have listed on the Common App. And then you have to we've never had to do this before, so it's something new for us too. You have to actually request your teacher recommendation and your counselor recommendation in the Common App. Okay. We're hoping they're going to change that because it's adding confusion all over the place. But yeah, so you make your requests there. This way, your teacher, your counselor, they'll get an email notification from Common App. So we know that you're requesting. Now you do have to request in SCORE. You have to make that request for the official request for the teacher, but there is no official request in SCORE for the counselor. When you drag that college from following into the applied column, we get an email from SCORE saying that they're applying to this school. So we'll get notified twice through Common App and through SCORE. Okay. Yep.
From you and our teachers into that school's specific.
We haven't got an answer on that yet. We asked that question today, so check in a few days, and hopefully we have an answer for you. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes. Go ahead.
Do you know if you can transfer from, say, if you go to a community first, is it only specific colleges you can transfer to, like after the 2 years, or is it all universities?
Okay, so the question is, if you started at community college, can you transfer to any college, or does it have to be a specific college? The answer to that is yes. No, you don't. It does not have to be a specific college. You can transfer anywhere. Okay, as long as you've maintained a certain GPA, and because you'll have to send your college transcript to the college you're applying to. However, if you are going to a community college in Massachusetts and you would like to transfer to a state university in Massachusetts, they have the mass transfer rule. Okay, and the mass transfer rule is if you do 2 years at the community college and you get your associate's degree and you maintain a certain GPA, and I'm not sure what that is. I think it's around a 2.6. I'm not sure exactly what it is. You are automatically accepted at any state university in Massachusetts, and they're going to lock you in at the community college tuition. So it's a 40% savings on your education, and you walk away with 2 degrees. Okay. No, nope. You do not have to. It just costs you $55 and a Saturday morning. That's it. If you don't like them, you don't have to send them. Okay. Yes. We're a test center for November 5th, I believe it is. Whatever that first Saturday is in November, we're a test center. And then we're not a test center again until May. Okay. You do not need to take the SATs at your high school. You can take them any place local that is offering them. Bridgewater State sometimes offers them. Other high schools might choose a different. I wouldn't, if you're going to take the SATs and you're applying early, I would not take a December SAT. It's a little too late. If you have a November 15th deadline, a November 5th SAT is enough time. They can get the scores off if you want them in time to the colleges. If you have an earlier deadline, then it would have been the October SAT you probably should have taken. After the December one, there's not another SAT until March, and that's most of the college application deadlines have passed at that point. Okay. Was there a question over here? Other questions? Up in the balcony. Yes. Mhm. So the question is, do all colleges require a letter of recommendation from the school counselor? And it was in the past, when I first started. Over the years, it's changed quite a bit. Naviance, not Naviance, old days, SCORE will tell you when you're on that my colleges page, it'll tell you right where this college is listed underneath how many teacher recs and if they want a school counselor recommendation. That form is long, but let me explain that explain the school counselor form. It's 4 pages long. The boxes will expand if you need more space. Now, the most important piece is the colleges do not want the counselors or the teachers writing a novel. They do not want more than a 1-page letter of recommendation. They have thousands and thousands of applications with many pieces of paper in there, and it's just they don't want to be bogged down with too much. So the general rule of thumb when you're answering those questions is state what it is, give 2 or 3 examples of why it was meaningful or significant, and then move on to the next section. If you do that, as I said, it's a 4-page document before you even type on it. It should not expand more than 4, maybe just touching a 5th page. So they do not want the students to write a novel. That form is only for the school counselor. We don't share it with anybody, so don't worry about it having it proofread and having it perfect. We just need the information. The colleges want us to write anecdotally about the students. They don't want us to give a laundry list of things they can read on an application or they can read on a transcript. So, for example, they don't want to see this person got A's and B's and they played this sport and that club, and they want to know, one of the questions on the form is, what's your proudest accomplishment? And one of the mistakes that we get is the student writes, my proudest accomplishment was getting a B in pre-calculus, period, and they move on to the next section. That doesn't tell anybody anything they can't see in a transcript. The question is, why was that your proudest accomplishment? Math is a hard subject for me. I went for extra help. I had a tutor. I was in a study group. I did extra credit questions. It's the anecdotal information behind the answer that they're looking for. So believe me, we don't want to have to write a novel. We don't want the students to have to write a novel, and the admissions counselors don't want to read a novel. If they only want one, then it would be an academic. Yes, it would be a teacher recommendation. So I'd just be cautious of that. If this college is not requiring a recommendation from a counselor, I would make sure that the student email the counselor and tell them they're not requiring a letter of recommendation from a guidance counselor, because we keep a spreadsheet of what we got from each student and when we got it. And like, so for example, so because we write one for everybody if they want us to. Okay, it's not whether the college wants it or not, if they want us to do it. But so what we do is I tell my students, I can't start my piece until I get those 2 forms and you've made your transcript request. If they're not going to give me that form because they don't need it, they just need to tell me that. Other questions? What are you thinking of majoring in? So a gym teacher, then that would be appropriate. Yes, that would absolutely. So yeah. So the question was, is it a core teacher? Is it teachers that teach electives? Who would be the best person to write a letter of recommendation? And you're thinking about majoring in music, and you're wondering, is an elective teacher like Mr. Pitsley or Mr. Converse an appropriate letter? Yes, it would be, because it's specific to what you're interested in doing at the college. Okay. No, the letters are going to be written to whom it may concern. They're going to be generically written, so it's not going to say, this is why she'll be a great student at Framingham State. It's just going to say, this is why she'd be a great student at your institution, or however they want to word it, okay? So one letter will cover all the colleges. Just quick note, hopefully this is obvious, but if you're asking more than one teacher to write a letter of recommendation for you, you need to fill out 2 of those blue forms, because you don't want your English teacher writing about an experience you had with your math teacher. Okay. Kind of loud out there. So what is it? Stuco? Oh, I'm going to have to talk to Brannigan about that. Okay, I don't go interrupting his meetings. I better not. Any other questions? Yes, in the balcony. Not here, no. But as we get information about the webinars and the virtual ones, we'll continue to send those out to you. Okay, well, I certainly want to thank you all for coming out tonight, and for those of you viewing at home, thank you for tuning in. Mr. Swiderski and I will be around for a little bit after we end this, so if you have any specific questions you want to talk to us about, we'll be happy to try to answer those. Again, thanks. Good luck with everything in the process. Please make sure you're communicating effectively with your counselor, and that we know exactly what's going on in the process. So there's no surprises, and we can get you guys into the places that you want to be going to next year. So again, thanks, and everybody have a good night. Okay.
I feel like there would be an internship that would best suit my future career. I just want experience.
Mm-hmm.